My name is Tavake Pacomio, originally. I'm born and raised in Rapa Nui. My dad was a native Rapa Nui man, 100%, and my mom is from the mainland of Chile. My generation, we were raised by a very deep sense of love of the island and our culture. Even that my dad, he suffered a lot of discrimination and stuff like that. He really make us love our land, that was the main heritage we have. So as I grew up, I realized how our ocean was endangered because Rapa Nui is a small island and the ocean is like our daily life. So I started notice the pollution, plastic pollution, mainly that's come from the ocean with currents and the wind. Is like plastics, 90% from the industrial fishing, and every year it's getting worse and worse and worse. So I started working with a local organization in marine conservation, and specifically what I do is I run the monthly beach cleanup calendar. We have a very busy calendar for this, and we try to involve everyone, like local community, institutions, public institutions, visitors, tourists, everyone. And we have been very creative in this and try to involve everyone. So we intercept all of this plastic from the coasts, and then we put it together and send it to the mainland to be processed. That is mainly what I do. And in parallel, a lot of education programs, talks, workshops, and stuff like that.
And teaching surfing.
Yeah. I'm a surfer and I run a surf school as well in the island. That's how I pay my bills. And mainly we do two things. One is we sell lessons and rentals for tourists as a tourist service. And as well we have a local program for kids, and we teach kids how to surf and how to protect the ocean in the same time, because they fall in love with surfing, and if they fall in love with surfing, they will know more about the ocean and they will want to protect the ocean as well. The more they spend in the water, the more they protect and love the sea. Yeah.
It's amazing. Such cool work. Great angle as well to get the kids' interest through. Yeah, through getting them passionate and getting in the waves.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Yeah, for sure.
And you did some work in Chile to help with was it the marine conservation rights for Rapa Nui? I remember from your talk you were at a presentation or something with the government in Chile. Can you tell me more about that?
Well, I have been very lucky to meet people, get in touch with international organizations, people from the mainland, like sports celebrities, stuff like that, and they have been inviting me for festivals, congress. They say mainly because they like the way I talk. So yeah, one of my main goals as well is to spread the message. We as islanders, we have a big experience on sustainability, resource management, but in the same time we have been affected by modernity. So for me it's very important to spread the message of what is happening in Rapa Nui, how we are in danger in some point, and what we can do about it, and how the world would help, and how the world can see what happened in a small place like Rapa Nui. I think this is a very important thing to do, and I have been lucky to be invited to these activities, and And I really like to talk as well and meet people, share experience. I think that is all what life is about. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, that's great work and a good way to share the connection with like-minded people.
Yeah.
You said that you felt like you met your tribe when you went to, was it Hawaii?
Yeah.
Ocean conservation?
Yeah, because in some point, like few years ago, in a country like Chile, like we're very in the end of the world. Like Chile is in the end of the world, and sometimes like few years ago, plastic pollution, it wasn't a big topic. Like people didn't think that you can work on that, really. Many people think that that was the government business, the company business, but not the normal and current people business. And now I think totally the opposite. I think it's everybody's business, you know? So in the beginning when I start all of this work, people were like, why are you cleaning so much? Or this is not like a normal job or stuff like that. Not in a bad way, but people were like asking questions, you know? And I felt in some point the same. I felt like that was like my very side job. But then as soon as I get more involved and more involved and more involved, I figured out that actually this could be the main part of my life, you know? And last year I was so lucky to attend the Ocean Uprising Hawaii run by Parley. And we have 5 days of like workshops, activities, beach cleanups, and many things. And many people like show up, many surfers as well, like good surfers, you know. Like for me it was kind of like paradise meeting so like my heroes, you know, in surfing. Like Greg Long was there, Jack Johnson, you know, and other like super inspiring people like Emily Penn. I met Emily there. Kimi Swimi, the world champion spearfish woman. Yeah, I remember the first talk was from Nainoa Thompson, the Hawaiian guy who revived the traditional navigation in Hawaii. And he was so inspired. Like I fell in love with his talk and his inspiration, and he encouraged us to do what our hearts say. So yeah, I felt like, wow, this is my people, this is my tribe, this is the way I want to live, and this is the way I want to work, and this is the people that I want to be close, you know, like, and was so open-minded, that experience, and I'm so grateful for that as well.
It's great, like following that passion and just feeling like that true purpose, and it just leads you, doesn't it, to where you need to be. And
yeah, and the amazing thing as well is that even that when you have conviction, even when you have like a strong soul and stuff like that, you still need your tribe. Oh yeah. You know, like you still need your community, and it's so amazing. Like find people that they feel it same as you. You know, like it's like your family, but by choice.
Yeah.
you know? Yeah, it's awesome. It's amazing. Yeah.
So cool. Yeah, it's like really strong bond then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it is by choice as well. Yeah, I totally agree. So you were saying, so I bought the book about tattoo history in Rapa Nui. Yeah, amazing book. And I was reading this the other day, and Catherine Rutledge, her book, and she said that your great-great-great-grandmother was in this?
Yeah, Angata.
Yeah. So you said that you feel like you were carrying on her work before? So yeah, tell me about your great-great-grandmother and how you feel like carrying on her work and what an amazing woman she was.
She has been inspiring my life a lot in the last time.
because she was a very visionary and revolutionary woman in 1914 in a very remote island, you know? So for me, it's like if she could did something without formal education, without money, without contacts, you know, very isolated. And she marked the story how we cannot do something now to change the world, you know? And she was very strong, with a lot of conviction. So I admire her so much, so much. Like, the most thing that inspired me is her strength in a very tough time in the world and in the island as well. Like, the Rapa Nui was living a very tough moment because many people were taken from the island for slavery in Peru. Many people died from Western disease, you know, because they're like cheap, they keep strong, you know, like they survive to that without nothing. So that makes me think a lot, inspire me a lot. I feel in some point the responsibility to keep going with many things that she thought and she had the vision. Because in the end we have the same genetic, you know, it's like, it's part of me in some point. I'm not her, but I have a part of her in my body, in my soul, in my spirit, in my heart, you know. And that's why history is very important as well. That's why it's important that you know your own history, and because this explains a lot and answers many questions, at least for me as well. So yeah, she's the best.
She sounds amazing, and it's really clear that like her strength and courage and all of her passion and drive totally lives in you. Like, you're carrying that on as a family trait. It's totally in blood.
And she was like a very normal lady as well. She had a husband, she had kids, you know, she had to raise her kids, feed the family, like everything that we have to do now as well. But she achieved it in a very difficult time, so that is even better.
And self-sufficient and everything, like living on the island is different then. You have to,
of course,
food for yourself, everything. Amazing. I wanted to ask you some questions about female tattooing in Rapa Nui. So I found out that the moai are like statues of kings, but some of them have like the petroglyph of the Kamari tattoo, which is like the vulva, so like feminine power symbol that you were telling me about. So I just really wanted to speak to a woman about the female element of tattooing in Rapa Nui and the history of like why women got tattooed and what their designs were and what you know from.
What I know from tattooing, like in the old time, was for people that have a mission and a responsibility, you know, not just for decoration. In the case of women in the old time, they carry a lot of like the history of Rapa Nui. So them tattoo explain this history as well. I think that is a good way to express and to not forget your history, you know? So designs depends like what you do, what were your family, what were the tribe or the area where you live. And these tattoos are in like are expressed in petroglyphs as well, that called Pacomio, like when you put it something in another like physical space. And yeah, for example, like the komari is the very feminine symbol that is basically the female vulva, and there are more than 600 petroglyphs about this found in the island. So when you see this, you can realize that feminine power or feminine spirit was so important in one part of the history, and as well like fertility, you know, and it's very interesting. I have one of my best friends, she's an anthropologist, and she have been doing a lot of research of archaeology and petroglyphs in the island, and when she found komari around the island, she started to like look at the whole place, you know, not just the petroglyph, but the whole place. And many times we were together to the field to see all of these petroglyphs, and she's saying like, can you see like the landscape? She said like, it has like a very feminine shape. You know, like how the ahus and the moais were distributed, you know, like how they grow food and everything has like a very feminine style to see something. So in some point, I think every tribe in the old time and people in the old time, they always work to get balance, you know. Because when you get balance, you can really preserve everything. So in the island in Rapa Nui, in one hand you have like these big statues and big platforms, the ahus and big moais, like that is like a very like forest images, you know. But in the other hand, you have these beautiful and delicate petroglyphs about Komari, Manutara, Makemake, the god, you know. So I think they really were trying to get that balance in between feminine and masculine, and that's very interesting, I think.
Yeah, that is really interesting, and it's nice that it's celebrated in a balance like that. And the artwork shows it. That's really beautiful.
Yeah. And I think this is the challenge of this time. We as a humanity have been achieving so many things, you know, like human being get the moon, you know, like we were being like very under the sea, like 300 meters, I don't know, and we have been everywhere. We have been developing incredible technologies, you know, something is like very awesome. But in some point, we have been losing some balance as well in this time. And that loss of balance is what is like in some point destroying the planet. So yeah, it could be good to look back to the old time and learn or remember how to get that balance back.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like Rapa Nui is a really amazing example of like humanity, and partly because of that isolation, but because of how sufficient you have to be and how like, I don't know, the materials are really valued, and then with the feminine masculine balance and everything, it's like just a really amazing like example of humanity. And then you had the extinction there as well, so that's like really interesting because it's something that we're looking at now as a planet. So it's like how did Rapa Nui, you know, come back with the repopulation and everything. There's so many myths because there's a bit of time lost. So I think that's why people that aren't from there now are so like, wow, how did these Moai get there, and what's this all about, and did the trees get cut down? And you were saying that's just like
forget the trees.
Yeah, would you tell me about that?
Yeah, it's funny because in the early 90s we had Kevin Costner in Rapa Nui. He was producing a movie called actually Rapa Nui, and he tried to explain and make some fantasy as well about the Rapa Nui history, and he has many real things on the movie. Yeah, I will not talk bad about him all the time, but in some point as well, this was early 90s. The archaeologists of the island weren't very good studied, and he put the theory that the Rapa Nui culture collapsed and they stopped building moais or carving moais, big moais, because like the population cut every single tree in the island to move the moais, and I don't know where he took this theory, but this wasn't like that. Like right now, many studies say that in the island there weren't any like big trees that can move 10 tons moai weight. Like they use other techniques. They even use like sweet potatoes to move it, but definitely not big trees. So the collapse that was shown in the movie, it wasn't real, and the collapse was as well from many external influence. Like the first Western touch was in the 1776 when the Dutch arrived, and the position of the island in the Pacific Ocean is very special. It's a very good like stopover in the middle of the ocean. So we had many like sailors, big ships, like companies that pass across the island and took people, put them diseased, stuff like that, and people start dying, and that was in some point the collapse until the early 19, when the population of the island were like 100, and one of those were my great grandmother, that I'm super grateful. Thanks to that I'm here now. But yeah, that's the story. And there are many things that it haven't been studied yet. There are many things to research, and I hope that this new generation will do that with this very sense of belong, because Rapa Nui is one of the most studied islands in the world, but not by their own people, but from foreigners. What is good, But when you have like the Rapa Nui people doing the research, the sense of belonging, the sense of love, the sense of care is different. It's definitely different.
Yeah, I agree. Like it's so important to have that connection with your land and with your ancestors, and like just from visiting Rapa Nui, you can see people are so proud, and I can see why. Like the historians that I spoke to and stuff, I'm like, wow, what an amazing job, like teaching people about your history and your culture, because it's really unique and beautiful, and it's so much pride in that, and I'm like, that's a beautiful thing to do.
And it's definitely, and for me it's a challenge as well. Like we need to preserve this, like our ancestors fight and die to leave the island for us. So we have a responsibility too. I'm proud, I'm super proud, but I really want to do something good for the island and for the next generations. And I'm so grateful as well for the people that came last century, like researchers, archaeologists, writers, adventurers, you know, like Catherine Rowlett, like she's a very good example. I admire her so much as well. She came in the early 19th and she learned the language. You know, she spent like more than a year in the island. She met the people. She was so interested to know everything about the culture, and not just that, but she wrote many books about the island, and this is like priceless right now for us. It's so much information, it's so much research that we can use today to understand, to learn, to remember, you know. So yeah, thanks to that people that help us to get the information in this time. Yeah.
Yeah, her documentation is really good.
It's priceless.
Reading it.
Yeah.
It's been amazing reading about your family in that documentation.
Yeah.
Whilst being here with you on the boat.
Yeah, how crazy.
What a connection. Yeah, it's really crazy.
Yeah.
And I guess it makes sense though, because it is a small world like that.
Yeah.
But it's really great that's the time that I've met you as well, is when I'm reading this book, sat with you. Yeah, on eXXpedition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice. Everything's happened for a reason, you know. Like, I believe a lot in that. A lot. Like, sometimes things are casualty and sometimes not, but if you are aware when things happen, you can make the most of them.
Yeah.
You know, but you need to be aware and have your heart open, and your mind as well, obviously, and let the things happen, let the magic happen, you know.